Welcome, everybody, to the Body Wellness Podcast. Today, we'll be speaking about nutrition. Your hosts are Linda Alessandro and Sofia Manolesco.
Hello, nice to see you again.
So today's exciting show, we're going to speak about nutrition. And at the same time, we're going to look at nutrition from a holistic perspective.
Yes.
Very important, okay? Yeah. Nutrition, or we like to say conscious eating.
Conscious eating, very important. Yeah. Conscious eating, yes.
So, and we also want to, with looking at nutrition, there's a couple of things you need to look at. You need to take into consideration. One, first of all, that there's 3 different ways in which we consume food. We consume nutrients. We're all familiar with the mouth. We're familiar with the nose, but we don't think about it as eating, but we are taking oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen in, which is very important. And the third and even most important way in which we consume nutrients is through the mind. The foods, the thoughts that you think are food for the mind. And the images that you take in are food for the mind. That's why watching a lot of negative violence on television is not necessarily healthy for you. It isn't healthy for you. Your body vibrates with the foods
like
and
try
the
not to eat watching the news.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. You want to, so whatever it is that you're seeing, your body assimilates. If it's positive, healthy things, you're going to be vibrating up there. Your cells vibrate at a higher level. But if you're taking in negativity and horror and that type of thing on a regular basis, your cells begin to go down. They're actually suppressed. When you watch violence, your body goes into fight or flight.
Right. We were talking about the mirror neurons and the fact that your mirror neurons don't know the difference whether you're watching something on TV or you're experiencing something in real time. The mirror neurons don't know. That's why you cry when you see a sad scene at the movies, because the mind doesn't know the difference
between something that's real and something that's imagined.
Yeah, or that's being shown on television. It could be something that's real, in the news.
Right.
And so, you're so right, because our emotions, right? How often do we hear that someone got sick because they had very strong emotions, right? Anxiety and stress cause heart attacks and strokes and all kinds of health issues.
Oh, yeah.
So, and digestive issues, right? And when you're upset, when you're depressed, you can't eat.
Your body reacts to it.
Right. And then if you get good news and you're relaxed, then you get your appetite back. So all of these things that actually happen.
They're connected. That's why there's the science of psychoneuroimmunology. We spoke about that before. Psycho, what you're thinking, what's going on in your mind, affects your nervous system. And that in turn affects your immunology, your immune system. So it's very important to pay attention to the 3 ways in which you eat. They're all important. And again, perhaps the most important is your mind, the images that you take into your mind. That's not discussed. We don't hear about that.
Right. I know. And it's so real, right? We are, first of all, everything begins with your thought process, right? So what we think is literally what we are.
Exactly.
And now we're beginning to apply this to when we eat, right? A lot of people like to say a little blessing, a little prayer, a little acknowledgement of what you're eating. Why do we do that? Because now you're giving the food the power to heal you and become a part of you. And we are what we eat, right? Mm-hmm. We are what we eat. In the previous episode, we were talking about physiology, about the hunter-gatherer, right? When we're at the gym, we move our bodies as if we were in the wild hunting and gathering, right? When we eat what we hunted and gathered. So now we're getting into the concept of the clean food, the live food, the raw food, how, and we'll talk more in our next episode, because this is going to be a 2-part episode. Today's episode is mostly about how we're engaging our mind, the physiology of nutrition. And then in the next episode, we're going to be touching a little more on the actual, nutrients and nutritional facts, right? And what you should be eating. Yeah. So you got to stay tuned. Right now, we're talking about how the emotions affect our digestive system, how they affect the absorption, how, now
Very
we know,
important.
recently there's been these studies that show how our gut health is linked to our well-being, to our mental health.
Actually, they say now that your gut health is responsible for 90% of the so-called diseases
Right.
that are out there.
Isn't that amazing?
Your microbiome, which is very important. So in considering nutrition, there are certain things you must pay attention to. Also, that your body is an electromagnetic biochemical system. So that refers to our neurons,
Right.
and, our nervous system.
Yeah.
Okay. Magnetic, what does magnetic refer to? The brain. Your brain is magnetic. Your thought, your thinking is magnetic.
And your blood is magnetic.
Yep.
Right? Because we have
Exactly.
iron in the blood. And
Yep.
when you breathe, we're talking about the oxygen. You breathe in the oxygen, it oxidizes, it ignites the iron in the blood, which creates the fire that gives you life.
Yes.
Please go on. Yeah.
Bio, which we're biological beings, and chemical, which we're our blood, our nervous system is releasing chemicals which affect every area of our body. All our organs and glands are affected and directly impacted by what we're thinking and feeling. So you cannot separate your nutrition from your physicality and your emotionalism. That's very important to
Right.
consider.
Yeah. Being electrochemical beings, right? What we eat goes into our bloodstream. When we breathe using the breath, not only do we activate the iron in the blood, but there's a whole bunch of other nutrients and minerals and vitamins that also react to the breathing and to oxygen. So when you're eating clean, you're eating good foods, you're eating, clean. When I say clean, I mean, no processed foods, or try to limit the processed foods. Your blood is circulating all these nutrients that we evolved, because I believe in God, I believe in evolution, I believe God created through evolution. So as we evolved with these magnificent, beautiful, natural nutrients that we have in nature around us. So we evolve, we are like one organism, right?
Yeah.
We are electrochemical beings, we absorb these wonderful nutrients. And when we do that, that's when we are meant to operate at our optimum. We're strong, we're doing great,
Right. So
we're healthy.
So let's look at what Sophia said. Life comes from life. Life comes from life. What does that mean? Very simple. Very simple. We are looking for the life force in the food. That's what's important, the life force. We need to take the life force contained in the food into our body. What is the life force? It's the vitamins, minerals, enzymes, all the nutriment in the food. That's what we're looking for. So whenever you eat something, okay, like I'll look at it and say, what am I actually getting from this? Is this food or is it a piece of cardboard?
Right.
A lot of our food is so processed, there are no nutrients in it, but we're so conditioned to eating it. We think we're getting food, but we're actually getting empty calories.
Right. It's not food. In order for something to be food, it has to have been grown in sunlight, right? So we're talking about sun-kissed foods, fruits and vegetables, number one, seeds, and,
Nuts.
for those of you who
Nuts,
consume,
grains,
right. And for those of you who consume meat, obviously, something that's organically grown, grass-fed.
Exactly.
You have to look for food that is natural and as close to the farm
as possible.
And the organic farm, I'm going to add, because I think that we are now approaching an era where people are becoming more and more aware of what they're putting in their bodies.
Very important.
Very important.
Actually, my husband Daniel was on a flight back home to Florida, and he was sitting next to a doctor who just came out of Washington, and they were preparing for, practicing emergency drills. And he had shared with Daniel that today when somebody, we say, moves over to the other side, it no longer is existing on the earth plane, it takes 3 days or 3 weeks, he said, 3 weeks for their body to decompose because of all the preservatives.
Wow.
3
Oh
weeks
my goodness.
because of
Wow.
so the preservatives we're getting in the food.
What happened to 3 days?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Really?
3 weeks. That's
wow.
what we told them.
That's
shocking.
It is shocking.
Absolutely shocking.
It is absolutely.
All that stuff we don't need in our food. Our body obviously isn't absorbing it and turning it into anything. It's just stuck in our organs and glands, which in our tissues rather, in our muscles and tissues, because they grab that stuff, which is toxic, and try to prevent it from getting to our organs and glands. So
that just rocked my world. I think I'm so glad that we're talking about this right now, because people have been conditioned, and I know that this is hard, right? And people have been conditioned to think that, oh, but I like it. And they don't understand that there's an entire an entire scientific community of I don't want to say evil scientists, but they've been designing food to appeal specifically to certain taste buds. Because in the wild, back when we were in the wild, fat and sugar were very scarce. So when we saw fat and sugar, we gravitated towards it to eat it right away because it was an immediate source of energy. But now you have that immediate source of energy all around in all the vending machines and the processed food, but the brain hasn't adapted to that reality. And so when we're hungry and we see fat and sugar, we're going to want to eat it. And a lot of people are subconsciously conditioned to look for savory foods rather than natural good foods. And if you cut out the bad food, right, the processed food, eventually within a couple of weeks, you're going to start appreciating the healthy food.
Do you know that sugar, C6H12O6, refined white table sugar, is, if it was a new product on the market, it wouldn't be allowed to be on the shelves. You need a prescription to purchase it. Why? It's so perverse in our food supply that they can't take it out just like that. Wow. Evolutionarily, our body has not adapted to metabolize such a pure product. That's why it wreaks havoc in our system.
Right. Well, it's when we're talking about refined flour, refined sugar, refined rice, anything that's been refined, right? First of all, there's a chemical process that happens for that refinement to go down, right? There's bleach involved. There's chlorine. I mean, I'm using, layman terms, but this is just it's just not good food because your body is not separating the nutrients and the fiber and everything that happens when you're having a pure sugar cane, for example. Or,
a regular sugar cane is much better because it has all the nutrients there. It hasn't been processed.
But the interesting thing about the sugar cane is that, most of us did not evolve with sugarcane. That's something that was discovered when we came to the New World. So people in the past there was no sugar. There was honey, there was dried fruits, there were all kinds of other ingredients that could sweeten up the food. Right. But the actual sugarcane, it's something that was introduced into our diet fairly late in the game.
And that's where moderation comes in. It's not that you can't have it, but you need to do it moderately. And that's the big problem for humans because we tend to have a challenge with doing things moderately.
And we tend to have a challenge, especially now with appreciating, some good fruit, a good salad, the vegetables. We have a hard time with that because, it's not savory. It doesn't tickle those taste buds in the back of our mouth the way the Cheetos do.
You know what? Everybody, you'll be surprised. I've been a vegetarian since 14, a vegan since 20. And you won't believe how delicious those foods become when you recondition your taste buds. When your body changes over from craving that food that it's just used to eating, but it's not really getting much from. I tell Daniel every night, I can't wait to have my dinner,
Right.
which is a salad. You can make salad all different ways.
Yes.
Of course, and for those who do eat meat, you can have some meat in there, piece of chicken, turkey, what have you. Organic, of course.
Fish.
Yeah, fish, right? But it is so delicious. I mean, I enjoy eating so much.
With the nice, with a little balsamic vinegar and a little olive oil and some nice Celtic salt. And, you find you if you want to eat healthy, you will. And if you want to be healthy, you have to eat healthy because your body, right? Your body makes more of you through the nutrients that you're getting in your body. So you really are what you eat. If you're eating clean, beautiful, nutritious, sun-kissed foods, then you are going to rejuvenate your body, delay the aging process, and heal yourself. A lot of our modern illnesses like diabetes and cancer and heart disease, and there's so much of it out there to name just, 3 of them, but there's more out there, but these happen to be like the main, the main chronic illnesses that we think are normal after a certain age. Oh, I'm 65, it's normal that no, it's not. It is an illness.
And the doctors tell people that it's normal. It's not normal.
It's not normal. And I personally know people who had diabetes. We're not talking about type 1, but the type 2, that's the acquired diabetes, who changed their lifestyle, they changed their nutrition, and they were able to get off the insulin and they became whole again because they changed everything about their lifestyle. And in some people, it may happen quickly. In some people, it may happen, slower.
Right.
But if you put into your body the nutrients that were meant to go into your body, then your body will renew itself with those nutrients.
It'll thrive.
Become healthy. It'll thrive and it'll cleanse itself. And we know that our bodies, our cells are turned over all the time, right? So there's a new us being made.
Constantly.
I think every 7 years you get a completely new you, but every 30 days some cells renew themselves, every 60 days, every 90 days, there's always something churning and changing.
Yep.
And if you're giving it the right ingredients, then you're also inviting health into your diet.
Exactly.
So we talk about mind. It's really not magical because the mind makes that decision. You make a decision. You say, you know what? I'm going to be healthy. And then you need mind and you need a little willpower. Right.
I think we need a lot of willpower. Some people need a lot of willpower. But yes, willpower is big, definitely big. But what is surprising, and I learned in the last year or two, Sophia, is how much your thinking impacts your health. It's incredible how the thoughts you're not aware of impact you tremendously. Like if you start to listen to what you're thinking or listen to what you're saying, you'll see how much negativity there is in there.
Right. The belief system.
Yeah. Negativity is the belief system, but negativity in what you're thinking and feeling. And those are the weeds in your garden. You've got to get those out of there in order to begin to really start reversing the aging process, because now they're talking about anti-aging in terms of getting younger. And I believe it's totally possible. But the challenge is the thinking. Becoming self-conscious of what you're thinking and feeling at every moment and catch when you're making mistakes. I caught myself with the podcast when I had my phone went off, chastising myself for having it on.
Right.
So that is not productive. All right.
No,
everybody makes
you learn from your mistakes. You make a mistake, you correct it, right? And then you're the blessing and the lesson. You learn your lesson and then you move on. Right.
Exactly.
And what you're talking about, the negative self-talk is so powerful.
Yes.
Because it's paralyzing.
And most of it's unconscious for people. We're not aware that we're doing it. We have to become aware. And as you start to become aware, it's like picking weeds out of your garden.
Sure.
You don't want to chastise yourself. You want to say, wait a minute. What's a better thought? How can I insert a positive thought here? Why do I have to be so critical of myself or others?
And when people say, turning back the clock, rejuvenating, reversing aging, how can you do that? And it's so simple. If you think about a child, a baby, a child, because they're growing, they're producing more cells, right? When you get to a certain age, the cell production slows down. So how can you keep your cell production going? That's the secret to maintaining a youthful appearance. When we talk about exercise, for example, right? When you exercise, you break your body down, right? That microscopic breakdown, while you sleep, the body regenerates itself. And now you're using the same mechanism of new cells being produced,
right,
as you would if you were a young person, producing new cells. But you're producing these new cells because you generated your own breakdown through the exercise and the nutrition and the fasting and whatever it is that was done in order to provoke that regeneration, right?
And also notice what Sophia said during exercise. Exercise is extremely important, not because we're toning and firming, although that's a great benefit, but we're taking in more oxygen. That's key.
Yes.
We're taking in more oxygen. And of all the oxygen we inhale and take in, 2/3 of it in every breath goes to the brain. We have all other organs and glands and systems. 2/3 of the oxygen we take in go to the brain. So exercise increases our oxygen intake tremendously. So we're taking in more oxygen, which is very important for rebuilding, rejuvenating.
Right. And if you're adding, you got the exercise component, you have the oxygen component, and of course, your blood is now fueled by the beautiful, sun-kissed, wonderful nutrition. Now you've got all the ingredients are laid out, but you must add to that your image, right? The mental image. If you're going to build, if you're an architect, right, you're going to build a house. First, you see it in your mind, right? You see it first, and then you do it. If you're going to build a business, first, you see that business laying out, and then you take the steps to make it happen.
Right.
And, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. But that's the same, when you're thinking about the most important thing, which is your health, right? How many people do we know? They work hard their whole lives. They have great businesses. They have great families, but they're neglecting their health. And then they end up having to spend their retirement sitting in the doctor's office.
Yeah.
And they think it's normal because everybody else is sitting in the doctor's office.
Not normal.
And it's not. That's not how it should be.
We want to reprogram ourselves on what we accept, and I like to take it to the nth degree because I'm now aware of just what our body is capable of. We don't realize what we are capable of. We've never been taught. We haven't been taught just truly what we can do. A hint is Einstein saying we use less than 5% of our ability. Less than 5%. Imagine what we could do with on 50%.
I agree.
Just 50%.
We can start, you watch our podcast, maybe you'll get to 20% really quickly, right? So, but I so agree with you. We have to set a new standard for ourselves.
Yep.
Right. And it's about individual responsibility. It's about tuning out the commercials and what everybody else says and tuning out the mentality, the self-talk of, but I put on weight since I moved to Florida. This is one that I hear a lot. You know who you are. You know who you are. You say, I've put on weight since I moved to Florida because we're retired and all of our socializing happens over dinner. And I'm like, okay, what kind of a cop-out is that? All right. That is just not acceptable. You can still sit and socialize and have dinner and not eat bad foods or stuff yourself beyond your capacity or, pick up that bread basket and pick up the butter or, we can choose wisely.
Yeah.
We can
make a game plan.
Right.
That's the whole thing. If you're going out to dinner, make a plan for it. What are you going to drink? What are you going to eat? What are you going to avoid? Think of it ahead of time because then you're more likely to follow through. You're aware, hey, I have a plan here.
Yeah.
Same thing with holidays. You go into a holiday party, plan ahead. What are you going to eat? What are you going to drink? What are you going to abstain from.
And you can always have a little salad, a little snack at home. Because again, you're going to go for a holiday dinner, right? It's not like, oh, here's a trough in front of me and I'm just going to go to town and I'm going to eat till I can't breathe anymore.
Right.
Which, by the way, is so unhealthy. Very, very careful.
And we all do it at some time or another, especially at parties. So we have to be conscious of what we're doing.
Yeah. So talk about the mind, right? You set a game plan.
Exactly.
And in the case of the people who are watching this, who want to get on some kind of a program and they don't know where to start, the first place where you can start is your morning affirmations. When you get up, before you get out of bed, right? You get into your Zen mode. At least that's what I do. Do a couple of breathing exercises. Maybe you say a prayer. Maybe you think about your day. Don't just rush out of bed. Spend a moment making a conscious plan and set the intent for the day, right? So we're setting the intent.
Exactly.
We're saying my intent today is I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to drink an extra glass of water. whatever it is that you need to do to take care of yourselves and to take care of the body.
Love it.
And 90 days into doing that, it becomes second nature, right? It takes about 90 days.
Yep.
I think people in 12-step programs go with the 90 days as well. And overeating, unfortunately, food addiction is so rampant, people don't even know they have it. But if you start cutting things out, so that's one thing. And then I hear another wonderful, I love this one. Oh, I keep it in my house for my husband and for the grandkids. And
we don't keep anything in our house. Yeah. We don't have any junk food around.
Right.
It's hard, but we've been doing it now for years. Yeah. No junk food in the house at all. If we have company, then we bring in some healthy junk food.
Healthy food, right. There's healthy food, right.
And, we partake at that time.
It's for the kids. Oh, what are we teaching the kids early on to like junk food? That's not right. Yeah. You don't want to teach your kids to be unhealthy or your grandkids. Right.
It's hard for people. Yeah. It's definitely hard because, they know what the kids like.
Right.
And they want to have it available for them. So it's fun to come to grandma's house. So it's fun to visit Aunt so-and-so.
Right.
But there's other ways to have fun.
Right. and learning about beautiful, healthy foods. There's so many good, healthy foods out there and good, healthy desserts. And maybe make it a project, learning how to make something healthy with avocado and with dried fruits and with dates and dark chocolate. And there's so many things that can be done.
You'd be amazed.
Yeah, we'll have some recipes for you.
So we want to thank you guys for tuning in to part 1 of our nutrition conversation and conscious eating. And we hope you enjoyed our show and you tune in next week for part 2.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a little bit more about the actual nutrients and nutrition and items to eat.
Thank you.
Take care. See you next time.